All right. My name is Alejandro Lopez Vaca.
I'm
My
Azelia.
name's and my name's Justin Hernandez.
All right. And we are looking at the comparative anatomy of a grass frog and rat. So, the grass frog and its ecosystem, it occupies a small generalist omnivore niche as tadpoles, eating mostly algae and some other small invertebrates when they grow slightly older. But as they go through metamorphosis and turn into adults, they start occupying an exclusive, opportunistic, generalist carnivorous diet. And essentially, what that means is that they can eat a wide range of other organisms, even like small rats and small mammals, and possibly other reptiles if given the opportunity. But they mostly feed on insects since it's the most common food source. As for predators, they are medium to low medium in the food hierarchy because they are still preyed upon predatory birds like eagles and hawks, and also preyed upon small predatory mammals like foxes, weasels, wildcats, and bobcats. They're also found in forest ponds, bushland swamp areas, and marshlands due to it being an amphibian, which means it requires at least a medium to high precipitation level in the biome, and it also needs a moderate what's called temperature moderate to high temperature area because their bodies are highly dependent on the environment for their blood circulation and their warmth because they are ectothermic. As for their mating patterns, oh, as for their mating patterns, they are usually prefer colder conditions for mating season because it allows for better incubation of their eggs, but they also occur usually during early spring. Another unique thing about frogs as compared to the phylum Mammalia is that frogs as amphibians can switch their sexes, and that is determined due to external conditions and also what role they played in the last sex cycle. And this is seen in some amphibian species, not all, but it has been observed in grass frogs at some point that does occur. As for as for how the eggs are fertilized, is that they the female gets in a and male get in a position get called amphlex. An amphlex is where the male sits on top of the female, which is usually smaller, and the female's below carrying the male. And as the female is laying these eggs, the male is shooting out sperm to the entrance where these eggs are coming out and fertilizing them as they're being laid. Now, for their anatomy, the anatomy of a frog is what's called is very much so has been developed as opposed to its ancient tetrapedal basal members like Ichthyostega. That is due to the fact that, well, many of years of evolution have gone past since then. Something they have in common that, like all vertebrates, is that they have a mouth for ingestion, an esophagus that connects the stomach to the mouth, a fire axe that it leads to the esophagus, and the small intestines, which are small specialized organs for nutrient absorption. The large intestine, which stores later food, and that's something unique to amphibians. Most of us don't do that as mammals. And the stomach also stores uh, food for digestion and starts a process of breaking down the food with stomach acid. And the gallbladder holds bile, which is a really important fluid in the body for digestion. And the liver processes macromolecules and molecules in order to produce hormones and maintain homeostasis within the body. The pancreas excretes these enzymes to maintain this homeostasis as well, and the cloaca excretes waste products to prevent any sort of infection and also to prevent the frog to from overpacking with excess waste. And the visible organs we can see in this image is the mouth, small intestines, liver, pancreas, and the stomach are visible through this image. The other systems, the multiple systems the frog has are the digestive system, excretory system, reproductive system, circulatory system, nervous system, and the locomotive and locomotion, which is enabled by all these other systems. And the excretory system, as it's stated, is the system that specializes in excreting things out of the body. These are kidneys, which are filter the blood, the utera, which transports the urine to the bladder, the urinary gland, where urine is stored, and the cloaca, which excretes these waste products. In females, the cloaca is also where eggs are excreted from. As for the reproductive system, frogs also have ovaries where they produce eggs, a uterus that houses fertilized eggs, and the octavates where the tubes of the eggs are essentially connected to a cloaca to be what's called shut into the environment. The circulatory system now is, well, like our circulatory system. They have different chambered hearts and cycle oxygenated and deoxygenated blood throughout the entire system. And they have two atrium and one ventricle, meaning they have a three-chambered heart. Then they have a nervous system, which is the brain, spinal cord, and nerves, which send electrical signals throughout the entire body so they can dictate how to respond to their environmental changes and what's going on in that situation, like running around from a predator and other stimuli. And their locomotion consists of leaping, crouching, and propelling through the air in a repeated motion. And it also consists of a tongue that can protrude out to catch prey. And now I hand it over to Justin.
And now moving on to the rat anatomy. The rat is a vertebrate. What makes a vertebrate is that it has either a backbone or a spinal column. It's part of the kingdom Animalia, and then you could divide its part into six. It's the cranial region, the cervical region, pectoral region, thoracic region, abdominal, and the pelvic region. The cranial region is the head. The cervical region is the neck. The pectoral region is the area where the front legs are attached. The thoracic region is the chest area. The abdominal is the belly. And the pelvic region is the area where the back legs attach. The phylum is Chordata. The digestive system is esophagus, salivary glands, stomach, small and large intestines, duodenum, jejunum. The reproductive system is the ovaries, seminal vesicles, and the epidermis. The circulatory system is the liver, spleen, venous cave, heart, atrium, ventricles, and the aortic arch. The respiratory system has the lungs, the diaphragm, the trachea. The nervous system has the olfactory bulb. The excretory system has the liver, kidneys, ureters, and the bladder. Its locomotion is that it jumps, it crouches, and can run fast with its limb and move its head, also its tail. And as you see in the picture, we see the liver here, the small intestine, the large intestine, the cecum, the urinary bladder, the urinary horn, the ovaries, the eggs, the spleen, and the stomach. Now moving on to the rat ecosystem. It lives mostly in people's houses and dirty places like sewers, streets, and on the wild. That's why it's called a rodent, unless someone makes it a pet. It has a lot of bacteria, so that's why people tend to dislike it. It eats both plants and small animals, making it omnivorous. It uses his nose to find food. And that's all.
So for the comparisons, the similarities would both of them would be that the frog and rats are vertebrates, meaning they both have backbones. The second one would be that they have internal organs such as the heart, liver, and the kidney. They're both animals that have a nervous system with the brain and spinal cord that helps them coordinate movement and respond to stimuli. And the last similarity would be that they both have a digestion system with a mouth, stomach, and intestines that help break down and absorb nutrients from food. So for the differences between the rat and the frog is that rats are mammals while frogs are amphibians, which indicates that their skeletal systems differ. With the rats, they have more a complex skeleton, while frogs have a more streamlined one. The second difference would be that rats have fur that help them control their body temperatures as well as protect them from predators, while frogs are opposite and they have a smooth and wet skin that absorb oxygens and other things as well. The third difference would be that rats have 4 legs and that are designed for walking and climbing, while while frogs have webbed feet. That is, the other difference would be that rats have a 4-chamber heart, for a more effective blood circulatory, while frogs are a 3rd-chamber heart. And the last difference would be that rats give birth to the young living, which nourish them with milk, while frogs would be opposite, and they lay eggs that eventually hatch into tadpoles. So for this slide, you could see there's 3 different images. The one on the left side is a digestive system of a frog, which it has some of the labels on them of like the tongue, small intestines, gallbladder, and just what like the layout of how a frog is. While on the right side is the layout of how a rat is and what they have. So like the similarities and differences. You could see them in both of them, how like what they do have similar and what they also don't have. And the middle picture is a picture of a frog and rat with kind of like the similarities of the intestines and not and so forth. But yeah. So this is our works cited page that we ended up doing for all of information and images that we used during this presentation. Yeah.
All right, and with that is our conclusion. And to conclude, essentially, from looking at the anatomical features of the frog and the rat, you can see that they shared an ancestry because they're both vertebrates and they both have very similar organ systems in order to respond to stimuli and to process nutrients and food. However, they probably diverged a long time ago due to the fact that they occupy different niches and have different systems that allow for different locomotion and different breeding patterns, which means that they must have had at some point millions of years ago diverged due to these very key behavioral and anatomical features that allow them to do these behaviors and different actions. So from that, we can conclude that vertebrates and rats are very, very well related because of their vertebrate nature, but at some point with basal tetrapods, they diverge due to the fact that one of them has different productive cycles and occupy different niches. Thank you.